Welcome to Car Sales Talk 101, where it's all about life in the car business. Telling you like it is. Here's the man with the plan, Terry Cameron. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Car Sales Talk 101. I'm Terry Cameron. Thanks for hanging out again with me today. This episode, I believe, is number 181, and the title is The Old Switcheroo. And I'm not talking about the bait and switch. And just to make it clear, let's look up the definition of the bait and switch. The Merriam-Webster dictionary online states that the definition of bait and switch is a sales tactic in which a customer is attracted by the advertisement of a low-priced item, but is then encouraged to buy at a higher-priced one. On another site, it mentioned a deceptive sales technique that involves advertising a low-priced item to attract customers to the store. Then you persuade them to buy a more expensive product by failing to have a sufficient supply of the advertised item on hand or vehicle on hand, or by disparaging its quality. And in some states, under consumer protection laws, this tactic is actually illegal. So depending upon where you're at, I think I'd look into that just to make sure you're not doing anything deceptive. And I'm sure you're not. So we're going to talk about the bait and switch, or the opposite of the bait and switch. We're going to just talk about the switch. Now, I'm talking about switching a customer from one vehicle to another. And I don't mean to do it in a manner that's deceptive. In other words, we don't want to have them come in on one vehicle and not have that vehicle there. And because they're there on the lot, they feel a little bit pressured. They've done all this work. They end up buying something that costs more. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is switching the customer because of the circumstances around the deal. For example, let's just discuss a few reasons why we would switch a customer. Well, the thing that comes to mind right off the bat for me is the car that they wanted sold. I mean, how many times do we tell the customer that we have somebody looking at that vehicle? The market right now is a seller's market, and the car is not going to hang around. And, they don't like it when we tell them, hey, it's not going to be here tomorrow. The person that was here yesterday and thought about buying it is coming in today to buy it. So you're going to miss out. It happens all the time. People don't like to hear it, and they think that is putting pressure on them. And I guess it kind of is. But it happens all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've witnessed a customer getting upset and stating that we sold the car out from under them. Even though they never made a commitment, they wanted to eat, sleep, think, and pray on it overnight and expected us to hold it for them. Okay, so that's the first reason we would want to switch a customer. The second would be because the vehicle they're trying to purchase, the payments are too high. I mean, it's just out of their budget. There's a lot of folks out there that think they can still buy a $30,000 car for $250 a month. Yes, I mean that. We've actually had a customer a couple of days ago looking at a $60,000 truck and was trying to keep their payments around $450 to $500 with only putting down their tax, title, and license. Math just doesn't work that way. Payments are just too high. It's out of the budget. Maybe they were conditioned by the bank. The bank was only willing to give them a certain payment, or they were willing to only finance a certain amount. And the customer may be upside down on their trade, or they just don't have enough downstroke to get to meet that bank's condition. Well, we might have to switch them to a lesser unit, or maybe a unit that we're willing to take a skinny deal on. The other reasons banks would condition it would be, of course, their debt to income, their payment to income, the book. I mean, they're not going to give you a $30,000 loan for a $20,000 car. So we got to get something that fits into as far as the LTV goes. And there's a few other reasons they may want to do that. Price. Or when I talk price, I mean the bottom line. The amount of finance is just too high for the customer. They may be wanting to pay cash and they have a number in mind. And if we cannot get to that number on the vehicle that they want, well, maybe we need to switch them to another vehicle. What about the color or equipment that they're looking for is out of stock? And if you're looking at new cars, that probably happens an awful lot now, at least more than it used to because of the market right now. So we have to switch them to a vehicle that's in stock that may not have the sunroof, or may not have the light, the pearl gold white color. Just switch them to something other than the one they were looking at. And one that's near and dear to my heart is we don't want a dealer trade. We want to switch the customer to a car that's in stock because it's just not worth trying to do a dealer trade. Most of the time, especially in today's market, if we do a dealer trade, it's going to cost us a premium vehicle because they know we need it. They know it's hard to get new cars right now, and they're going to ask for something they really want in return. So we don't want to do dealer trades. And last but not least, and something that's also near and dear to my heart, is to make gross. If a customer's looking at a particular vehicle and we can't get there to meet the bank's condition, or we could, but we'd have to take a skinny deal, we might want to switch them to something else that we may own for a little bit less, or maybe that might book out just a little bit better because we want to make more gross. And I don't know about everybody that's listening, but that's what I get paid on, gross. I love commission, and I like getting paid on the gross. So we can switch them to make gross. Now, how do you switch a customer? Well, there's many ways to do it, but I would say the very first thing you need to do is be prepared to switch the customer. If you know the vehicle they want is out of stock, if you know the payments are going to be too high, if you know that you don't have the color that they want, you need to be prepared for when they get on the lot to switch them, which means you need to have a switch vehicle in mind. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a cheaper one. It could be one that's a little bit more expensive, but we have a little bit more room to work on it and we can still make gross. I would say you would get with your manager about that. And while we're on that subject, never, ever switch a customer to another vehicle without manager's approval. There's a reason why they're trying to sell a particular car, and we don't want you to screw it up. So make sure you get your manager's permission before you try to switch the customer. So number one, be honest with the customer. Let them know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Sometimes as a salesperson, we also have to become a counselor. We have to let the customer know, how hard it is to get that particular vehicle, why we cannot get to that payment, why the bank conditioned us. And heaven forbid if you get into a situation where you have a huge bank fee that you have to pay just to get that customer financed. We don't want to get into that right now. That's for a later episode. But we need to be prepared. We need to know which vehicle or vehicles we have will fit into that option of switching them for whatever reason it may be. And then when they're there on the lot, you got to explain it to them. This is where you become a counselor. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I know we don't have that dynamite white, but we do have light colors with the same features you're looking for. Would either the tan or the gray work for you? And make sure you have a tan or gray one if you're going to use that one, and then show it to them. Please do not show it to them by switching your screen around on your computer and showing them your website. There's absolutely no enthusiasm. They don't take any kind of mental ownership looking at it on a screen. But if they can touch it, taste it, and feel it right out there on the lot, that's where you need to do your switch. So be honest with the customer. Explain to them why you need to switch. And don't take it personal if they buck at you and say, no way, this is what I came for. You knew this is what I wanted, and that's what I want to get. If that's the way it is, again, you're going to work with management, but maybe you need to give them the parameters on how they can get the one that they want. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, okay, that's fine. You can get this vehicle at the payment you want. However, you're going to need to put an additional $7,500 down to get there. So as long as we're willing to do that, then let's go ahead and wrap this up. Well, in my market, if somebody comes in with $7,500, that means they're already strapped. And if we're going to ask them for more money, then chances are they're not going to have it. Or they're at least not going to want to put that money down. So explain it to them. And then don't skip a beat and say, but let me show you this one. I'm sure you will love this vehicle, and this one will fit into your budget, or this one will meet the condition, or this one is not quite the color you want, but it is a very good-looking color. And show it to them. All right? So, again, let's go over the reasons why we want to switch a customer. That's the car they wanted was sold. Their payments are too high. They've been conditioned by the bank for debt to income, payment to income, LTV, whatever. The bottom line, the price is just too high. And we still do have those price shoppers because we don't want to do a dealer trade. And maybe the color or the equipment is not on the car that they want. For example, they want a sunroof, and the one we have might be the right color, but does not have a sunroof. And last but not least, to make gross. That's the reason we switch a customer. We do not want to bait them on a low price vehicle or something that you don't have in stock by telling them you have it. And when they get there, telling them it's sold. That could be, depending upon what state you're in, against the law. We don't want to bait and switch. We just know that it's going to happen probably more than we want it to. And that's switching customers. So be prepared. Know which vehicle you're going to switch them to. And if you really want to have a better shot at it, have a couple vehicles. Know why you're switching them, right? Know why they're switching them. And then you got to be prepared to sell the product, the switch vehicle to them. You have to put on your bells and buzzers. You got to put on your dancing shoes, and you got to go out there and sell that vehicle again. And just like I mentioned in previous episodes, if this is to work, the customer has to like and trust you. So if you didn't greet them the right way, and if you didn't build a rapport with them, good luck switching the customer. They don't have to buy the car from you. They can go buy it from somebody else. So make sure you've earned that right to not only ask them for the purchase, but also ask them to switch to another vehicle, right? So keep that in mind and remember all the steps of the sale. 100% of the process to 100% of the people, 100% of the time, and your switch will go much easier. Remember, the sky's the limit, and I'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please rate it and write a review on Apple Podcast. We appreciate your valuable feedback. You can email Terry at 10minutesalestalk@hot.rr.com. And don't forget to share the show with a friend.